The best handicapped horse in the yard is the official quote for a horse called.
I just want to take Lamborn on. I really do.
And he should beat this mediocre lot.
Hello and welcome back to the Only Fools of Horses YouTube channel. We're back. We've had a couple of weeks away. It's summer holidays after all. The school kids having a bit of time off. We've had a little bit of time off as well ourselves, but not on Twitter. Make sure to check us out every Saturday, 10:30 a.m. We do run through our best bets there. This week, we've got two massive festivals. We've got the St. Leger Festival, which is going to be taking the most of our time on this video. And we've also got the Irish Champions Festival on the weekend, where I'm sure I have a couple of horses to put forward as well. It's good to be back on the screens, looking ahead to some good flat racing. Gents, we haven't been on the YouTube channel for, I think, since Goodwood. So good time to review how's the flat season going and how quickly do we want the jumps to return. Lee, go first.
Very quickly, probably. I didn't start. I started really well on the flatsy, but yeah, it's starting. It's like the start of the season and end of the season. Always seems to the weather starts to change and the horses start to be, prep for different type of races like end of season targets, Champions Day and stuff like that. And yeah, the last 2 weeks I would have says have not been great on the punting side, I have to be honest. But I've enjoyed the flat season. I'm looking forward to the jumps, but when it gets into September, I start to try and build up a pot, like for them King George's and Cheltenhams and stuff. And that's when I normally start. I'm looking forward to getting stuck into like the likes of Chepstow and them early doors ones and October meetings next month at Cheltenham as well. But yeah, Ash, I'm on the back foot. Maybe the last couple of weeks, but I'm still in front. I've enjoyed it, but I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into the jumps, and that's when we'll have like plenty of trainers on. We've got yard visits coming up and different stuff like that. So yes, nice to be back, but get the jumps back.
Yeah, that's a general consensus, I'd say. Harry, how's things with you? How are you looking forward to this week?
Yeah, buzzing, absolutely buzzing. Can't wait for more flat action. I'm at the end of my tether with it. I have to admit, I completely get, as a punting point of view, it's so frustrating because you're getting fresh horses that have been put away from the summer where you'd usually see them running, 3 or 4 times. But the ground has been that quick and we've had no rain. And then all of a sudden in the last week, it's decided to absolutely piss it down all the way up and down the country. And it's just frustrating. I think punting, it's very tough because you're getting horses that are reaching their end and horses that are kind of coming in actually fresh into the autumn, which is pretty unheard of for summer flat horses. But look, I think it's a little bit harsh then. It has been enjoyable from time to time. I just think I at the start of the season I was really anticipating and I was really looking forward to it. Now I just cannot wait for 3 days at Chepstow. I cannot wait. I want it to be absolutely freezing, pissing down, blowing an absolute hoolie, stood in the middle of a field with blokes who are and lasses that are absolutely screaming their heads off, shouting over one that's flying over the final fence. There is nothing better than that.
Our name is very apt because Only Fools do love horses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yesterday, this is the first time. So I've only been racing, and normally I'd go racing a couple of times a week because of circumstances. I've only been racing about twice in the last 3 or 4 months, to be honest. But yesterday I managed to go to Newcastle. There was a handful of people there. I don't know why they don't just let the gates open and advertise it saying come racing, because it was a beautiful night, but there was nobody there. And I thought it's only for the faint-hearted sometimes, these meetings. But just open the doors and let people in, and then they'll spend, and they'll come back. I'm not saying do it every time, but nights like that, like it was Monday night, there was nobody there, but it was a beautiful night. So yeah, we need to get people back in the doors. But
won't be long, Lee, before it's snowing.
Yes.
5th day. Oh, that was the coldest I've ever been in my life.
Yeah,
Epperton and Not So Sleepy, wasn't it? That dead heated, I think.
That's right. Epperton.
Yeah. Oh, that was the coldest day I've ever. I physically can still feel my hands that were like frozen.
Castle Fire. That's the
Oh god.
But anyway, not to talk too much about the jumps. I'm looking forward to the flat this week, and I've had
No,
a
you're not.
fairly, I was
Not
similar
right.
similar consensus to the lads. This flat season's been, I think, a touch brutal, but look, we keep kicking, kind of thing. Just finally on the jumps, I was very privileged to be down at Paul Nicholson's on Sunday for his owners' day. I'll give you 2 horses just to follow. Harry mentioned Chepstow there. One that's going to go to Chepstow, I think, is a horse called Treasure Planet. Needs a bit of jumping practice, but could be a horse to keep an eye on. And then the best handicapped horse in the yard is the official quote for a horse called Byzantium, 114. There you go. Anyway, flat stuff. We're going to be doing our usual sort of thing that we've been doing this season away from the big meeting. So this is a big meeting, but we're going to talk about the main race, which is the St. Leger on Saturday, and then we're going to go for anything else, which is also going to incorporate the Irish Champions Festival as well. So we'll kick on, gents, to the St. Leger, not spelt with a D. It is just the Leger, Leger. And we've got the betting on the screen. 8 runners: Scandinavia 11-8, Lambourne 3-1, Karma's 5-1, Stay True 8-1, Further 11s, Rahib 33s, Tarians 33s, and Saratoga 100-1. Lee O'Brien seems to be dominating this race in the betting, and he's got some obviously strong chances in the contest. What do we think of the race, and ultimately, who do you think is the most likely winner of the St. Leger?
Yeah, look, it's a nice enough race. There's it's maybe it's not a vintage and standout, but maybe it's it's still a nice race. I'm just looking at the betting there. Look, Scandinavia's short, but maybe it's worthy. So did get the weight the last time, though, lads. Like that would be a key thing. Did get the weight, beat Illinois fair and square at Goodwood, stayed very well with no was going to power through the line, but doesn't get the weight concession this time round. Whereas obviously Lambourne was seen. Look, shout out to you, Harry. You did put him up for the Derby, won the Derby well, but that was from the front. Tactics very much worked out well, and then when the Irish Derby was odds on, done it sluggish, I would have said, and then last time out didn't look the best, and maybe was found out. Let's say, I don't know. Pride of Aris won the race, 4th that day, wasn't he, Lambourne? It was just, I don't know. I wasn't screaming to me like, go. He'd keep kicking on. Maybe it's just look. I'm playing devil's advocate by saying these questions to myself, I suppose, as well. Maybe it's the Derby. He got free run. Maybe it's, the Irish Derby was weak and he was odds on and entitled to win it. Then last time out, he was found out again. I don't know. It just put us off him a bit. I did like him. I thought, the Derby. I thought, there you go, that's him. But I don't know if it is. And Scandinavia stayed very well. We know that's the bag with him, and won it well. He doesn't get that weight, but yeah, I think I'd take Scandinavia over Lambourne. Whether they'll all rock up, is a different question as well, and we'll find out. But yeah, Scandinavia will be BP for me, Ash.
Nicely done. Harry, what about yourself for the Leger?
Yeah, look, I think Lee summed up, Lambourne pretty well there. I think he's got, despite him being the Derby winner, I think he's got more question marks than Scandinavia, who I think is, this Jan Bruegel kind of type. I think it's a little bit harsh in saying that, because I think the way that he won at Newmarket, you thought, like, that's a very take. I don't think Jan Bruegel's ever really kind of done that. Just always kind of, grinds it out, and he's always going to keep finding. But I just think there's so much untapped potential with Scandinavia that you just don't know. Is it? I think, look, it's between the front two, isn't it? I can't see Karma's being quite good enough. Further, I think he's obviously related to Volgeist, isn't it? The Derby, not the Derby, the Arc winner, wasn't it? From a few years ago. You'd expect to kind of get better with the distance. I just think I keep coming back to Scandinavia. There's this untapped potential who just keeps on going further and further and further. And the better he goes, I think. The further he goes, I think the better he gets. Be interested to see if Sean Levy rides. I think he'll be the one whoever he picks will win. I think he'll have the choice.
Really? Not Crystal, because they're
No,
going
I think Sean Levy.
to.
I think regardless of it, I think regardless of what Sumion's been doing elsewhere, I think this weekend, I think Sean Levy will have the pick of the bunch. You know, he won the race last year on Jan Bruegel. He beat when Ryan Moore was on. Ryan Moore was he was in Ireland, and Wayne Lorden I think was on. Oh, what was the name of the horse?
I think he's on Illinois.
Illinois, yes, that's the one. That's the one. And then obviously Illinois went to France and won the was it the Cadran, I think. So yeah, that's who I'd go for. Scandinavia, and maybe even a tilt at the Cadran while you're at it.
Will Christoph definitely come across to Doncaster for this?
I'd imagine so. I think it'd be silly not to, because he's either riding an 11-8 shot or 3-1 shot. But I do think Sean Levy will ride Scandinavia.
I would have just said
he could be in Ireland, couldn't he, Christoph?
Yeah.
The Irish Champion Stakes on Delacroix.
Well, it could be Lorden then. It could be Lorden over here. Well, I think he's got a ban. Actually, I'm sure he's got a ban. Yeah. Well, this is it.
I would have said maybe Scandinavia. They'll have to find out who's going to be the cup horse, because something needs to fit in the mold. Illinois didn't stay. You've got these two. One of them, like Scandinavia, could fit into Kyprios's shoes, whereas Lamborn might go to like a Los Angeles and stick around a middle distance.
Yeah.
But they need to find out, and that's why probably the two will run and will say, well, this is one for next year for this race, and likewise for the other.
I think anything's going to struggle to beat Trawlerman, isn't it? Really, he's just looked a different beast this year. So
next season, look, time's ticking on for Trawlerman. Something needs to fill the boots, and these young guns are going to be coming through, and they need to find out where's that pack and what they're going to do for different races next season, where they'll start maybe.
Yeah. Anyway,
I reckon
Scandinavia, Ash.
On jockeys, I reckon you might have Christoph go over to Ireland. Sean might come over here, and you might have someone like Dylan Brown McMonagle.
Well, that was my thinking, Ash. That was my thinking. Sean, he's rode for them a couple of times in this race over the last few years. If Christoph goes over there and he rides Delacroix, which he probably will, I'd say 75-25 that he will go over there, and then Sean Levy gets the pick of the bunch over here. That was my kind of reasoning, and I think Ryan Moore will kind of have a big influence on who he picks.
Yeah, don't mind the shout at all there. Look, I agree with you guys to an extent. I think of the two O'Brien horses, Lamborn is not really the one I like too much. I've never really wanted him this season. I know and that's sort of weird to say for a two-time Derby winner, but I'm not sure the Epsom form is worth much. And then the Irish Derby form, I'm not too sold on that. Like, I wasn't going to be a fan of Lazy Griff in this race if he turned up. And Lazy Griff's obviously got those two bits of form with Lamborn kind of thing. You also got like Sedina Dan was fifth in the Irish Derby, and he was a bit disappointing in the Gordon Stakes behind Merch. I know it's a flag start and everything, but he did disappoint me that day. And yeah, I wouldn't be too sure. So I've gone for Karma's here for Paddy Toomey. I just really like him. He's got lovely pedigree. Like, you actually go far enough. Well, not far enough. I don't really have to go too far back through the pedigree, but he's a cousin to City of Troy. So his dam is a sister. I think it's a half sister to City of Troy's dam. Also is a half sister to Forever Together, who won the Oaks, and Lord Shannagill, who was a Group 1 winner. So lovely pedigree. I really like his action. He just, like, all season he's like a proper galloper. And I know he's sort of done two races now, the Great Vulture and the Queen's Vase on good firm ground. But I don't think he'll have an issue on slightly softer grounds. I think it's going to be slightly softer at Doncaster this week. It won't be much quicker than good. He just got a really nice action. I think you maybe have small question marks over Scandinavia just on he's been doing a lot of winning on good firm. He's by Justify, but I think that there should be really no issue for Karmas on the ground. He looks like a really nice horse, and he's got some good bits of form in the book. Like, he did beat Scandinavia in the Queen's Vase, and you have to look at that race. Like, Scandinavia, you sort of see him in the final furlong, and you see him come from a mile back. You think, oh, he's an eye catcher. He must have had so much work to do on Karmas, but you actually see them like mid-race. Scandinavia is basically on his hindquarters all the way, and as they come around the bend, Karmas kicks on really nicely, makes a great move, and Scandinavia just gets shuffled back, and then he has to sort of make up the ground there. I think tactical speed wise, Karma's just could have him there. I think he just got a bit more tactical speed than Scandinavia. Maybe Scandinavia's improved since, but that was in June, and then we're now in September. That's only 2 months on, so he's got the beating of Scandinavia based on that bit of form. I also thought he ran a good race in the Vulture first start for 2 months. I think Arabian Force would have been my horse for the St. Leger if he was declared, but he hasn't, and Karma's finished ahead of him that day. But I think the Pride of Arras form is pretty nice, to be honest. I know he was a bit disappointing in between his Dante run and his Great Vulture run, but he is a nice horse, Pride of Arras, and I like that form quite a lot. And like he has the beating of Scandinavia, he has the beating of Fervour, he has the beating of Rahib based on the Queen's Vase. I think he should go really, really close here, Karma's, and I actually think he'll slightly improve for the run that he had at York, because that was his first run for 2 months. So all in all, I think the solid one's Karma's at 5-1, and I'll keep him on side.
Yeah, but like the likes of Saratoga and stuff like that, they'll make it a test. And Scandinavia is all about they'll wind it up from the bend, and I think that's what will win it. I'm kind of on the other side of the fence. I'll play devil's advocate again, but
it'll be the fittest jockey who wins the race, because they're going to be going hell for leather from a fair way out. And if Sean Levy gets his way on Scandinavia, I'd imagine he'll just be just keep rowing away. I just think he's, like we said, Lee, he's just one of those horses that'll just keep going. Just find another gear and another gear and another gear.
I'd rather have Karma's over Lamborn. I might need my words there. I just want to take Lamborn on. I really do. And I'd rather. Yeah, I say Sash, I really do. But I just think that's what will kind of might win the day. But reverse Booker.
I think the tactics will be interesting, because obviously Aiden's got 4 in the race, it looks like, and 3 of them are sort of the ones you can maybe make a case for, Stay True being 8-1, and the one that you can't really make a case for is Saratoga. So I just wonder, I know they did it last year where they had so many runners in the race, and they sort of just they got the tactics pretty spot on, because they beat Sunway and Diarra and You Got To Me, so they sort of got the tactics to beat them horses. But I don't know, I kind of think it's a case of strong is weak, weak is strong. If they had a really, really nice horse kind of thing, they'd be quite confident to send this horse in, maybe not on his own, but maybe solo or 2 runners in the race. Because if they thought, look, this thing can't get beat kind of thing, we might go to the Irish Leger with one of these horses. But they put 4 in the race. I think it screams I don't know kind of thing. So that could be wrong, completely wrong by Saturday. But I think Karma's just is a lovely, lovely horse.
I think mine's like what I said before. I think they just want to find out their pecking order for going order. That's how I would have seen it. I did consider that, because I thought if they were strong, there'd be just the one, and maybe take Lamborn out, I would have said. But that's cool.
Yeah, so that's the Leger anyway. It's Scandinavia for Lee and Harry, and tentative. I see the Scandinavia case for sure, but Karma's is mine for the Leger. Right, we'll go for sort of festival best bets elsewhere of the St. Leger. Look, it's 4 days with the Sunday day, and is it the Leger Legends on Sunday? The big race of the week. But there is 4 days of the Doncaster St. Leger meeting. So anything else, gentlemen? I'll go back to Harry. Anything else that's sort of catching your eye?
Yeah, I think Sweet William on in the Doncaster Cup. I think I know he won the race last year, didn't he? He was just, I think this is where he's peaking. I thought that was a career best, actually, against Trollerman last time out at York. I thought that the way he kind of loomed up, never thought that he'd get past. But I think if you want to, if you're going to loom up, there's only probably 2 horses that you don't want to loom up against, and it's Kyprios and Trollerman, because they'll just keep going. I thought it was a really good performance. I think it's the best of a bad bunch, if I'm going to be completely honest. I look at the likes of this Sunway. I've been a big fan of this horse, but he's not progressed. He's not gone on since he was a quite exciting 3-year-old. I just think it was quite interesting when we went to David Menici's yard. His assistant trainer was saying that he just thinks that they might have caught up with him. He was quite a forward-going younger horse, and obviously since they've all kind of packed up together, the cream kind of rises to the top, and I think that's going to be the problem with Sunway. Sweet William just is this very consistent horse, and it's a shame that Trushan isn't in the race, because that Trushan had been rocking up in this. He was obviously mightily impressive, wasn't he, against Sweet William? I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when he came. He was just mad as a box of frogs, wasn't he? And he just ran off with Holly Doyle for about 2 miles and then still managed to win. But yeah, Sweet William, I think he's bound back. It was a really good run last time out at York behind the best stayer in training, and he should beat this mediocre lot.
Nice, thank you very much, Lee. Anything else for the Leger Festival?
I've got 3.
Yep.
2 for Thursday. One was Sweet William. The other one. So everything Harry says. Look, I just think. I really did like how he loomed up. I'm glad I was on Troller Man just to see him off the last day. But yeah, I thought, oh, my money's cooked. I did, because he travelled so well. And yeah, Sweet William, I'm sweet on him, like Harry says. 2 for Thursday. I like Gel Pepper. It's the 300 grand sales race. I think it's got the experience. It's got the form. Was in a group 3 there. Group 2. It Goodwood was 3rd. I just think has the experience, and on the way, I think 2nd best in on the on ratings, but with the weight allowance that you get in them sales races, comes out best. So Gel Pepper it's in the sales race, 300 grand one. Also, I like Danielle is in the group 2. It's the Park Hill fillies, the group 2. I just think she's got really solid form. Last time out as well, it was a long layoff that she had. She come there, to kind of win a race. They pulled a long way clear. She was beaten by just an improver there, but they pulled a long way clear. The cobwebs definitely would have been blew off then. If she can come forward, I just think she's got really good form from last season. She was just touched off by a Strange, who was, won group races since. There's, plenty of form lines. She was behind, only just beaten a couple of lengths by Kalpana at Royal Ascot. Go through her form. Danielle has got strong form from last season. Reappeared in a group 2. Likes soft ground, and I think there'll be a juice in the ground there. Yeah, Danielle. So that's for the group 2 on Thursday, and then the sales race, Gel Pepper. So 2 plus Sweet William in the cup.
Nice. Well, we've got agreement, gentlemen, because I agree with you on Sweet William in the Doncaster Cup. He's just short enough, but I think he'll win. And then my 2, again, I'm sort of focused mainly on Thursday. I've got Moon Target in the Mayhill and Danielle in the Park Hill. So Moon Target, I like her. I think she's got a good chance. She was 2nd the last day. She went off favourite. There's a lot of talk about her. Some Mount Prescott with a Chiefly Park horse, and maybe there's a slight bit of disappointment that she didn't win. But I thought she acquitted herself quite nicely. And they pulled quite far clear of the 3rd, Aileen, who's actually back in here. I thought she was like early off the bridle, but she stayed on nicely, and I thought Precise was just in always a good race position to win. So I thought Moon Target was always up against it, and look, she did well, but like slightly disappointing. Wayne Lorden, that's actually the ride that got him the bang, because I think he struck the winner twice in the wrong part of the horse. And then you look at the form, like Precise beat a horse called Cape Sunion at Cork last month, and she was 2nd to Ballantina at the Curragh in May. Ballantina was 3rd in the Albany, which has great form from Venetian Sun. And that day at Cork, at the Curragh in May, she was also ahead of Beautify, who's gone on to beat Lady Aman over 6 furlongs in the Ailey Stud Stakes. So I think just sort of the form that Precise has got of beating that horse, Cape Sunion, at Cork last month, is working out very, very nicely, collaterally from what she did at the Curragh in May with some nice horses. So I think she's a very, very solid favourite. I don't think it's a great race, the Mayhill, this year. Maybe there's a couple of horses you can make a case for at sort of slightly bigger price. I think Venetian Lace, I think, is in the race, and she's got sort of some group bits of form which she can make the case for. I can see the angle. She's maybe the each way play, I'd say. I wouldn't be sort of too disheartened if you back both of them, but Moon Target I think is a very solid favourite. And then Danielle, slightly windy, because I have never really been a fan of hers, but I thought she was good behind Wadra last time out, the Owen Burrows horse. I think she's got a great chance, this Wadra. I think she's got a great chance in the fillies and mares on Champions Day, which looks to be the target. I think she'd be really, really tough to knock, to be honest. And her form of Estrange working out very nicely. Estrange gone on to run behind Mini Hawk, and obviously Mini Hawk's one for the Arc now favourite, and Aidan O'Brien seems to think that she's always improving through the season kind of thing. So she should like the ground. She's got form on heavy ground and sort of good soft ground. So if it is that sort of slightly softer ground on Thursday, which I expect it to be because it's going to rain on Wednesday at Doncaster, I think she's got a great chance. So yeah, Moon Target, Danielle, and I will agree with you on Sweet William, definitely. Gents, I'm going to mention something for the Irish Champions weekend. Have you got anything before I go for mine?
I was just going to go. I was going to mention. I don't have anything over in Ireland, although it would be interesting to see how Asfora gets on. Obviously, on the back of her Nunthorpe success, wasn't it? Last month, but going over to Longchamp, obviously last weekend was a pretty telling, bit sickening. I ate a lot of humble pie after giving Cal Partner some shit on the Saturday morning show. Well, she got beat. I thought, right, well, this is worlds for the taking. He went and she ran no sort of race, but take nothing away from Aventure, who looks a very good filly. Obviously, she finished runner-up to Blue Stocking last year in the same race. She can go one better. I know one person, Simon, obviously, as many of you know him, who runs Fergal O'Brien's account. He was the first person who messaged me. He's been harping on the drum all year, saying back Aventure. He's on at nice prices. But actually, this Sunday is what I wanted to mention, Ash. And although the Japanese have never won at the Arc, they've got 3 decent bullets to fire. Byzantine Dream obviously won the Group 2 last weekend, but they've got the top juvenile, Quadanor. I want to say Quadanor, who won over in his homeland earlier on this year and looked an absolute machine. Now, I'm not going to lie and say I know all about the form, but listening to Nick Luck Daily kind of religiously over the last week or so, the Japanese correspondents that have been on have basically been saying this is the pick out the 3. And if he wins, he runs on Sunday. I want to say it's in a Group 3, so you'd expect him to pick up. But what me and Lee like doing is, if you like taking the price on Sunday to win today and to win the big race, you're going to get a bigger price. I just think they're good value. Aventure is 40-1 on Sunday to win that race at Longchamp and then win the Arc. And now you're looking at a horse who's 4-1. There's a big swing. You can find the value. You might not really fancy the horse, but for the sake of a 5 or a 10er, I think you're not gonna really go wrong, and you could be looking at a nice docket by the end of play on Sunday. So that's the way I'm going to play. I know Lee's probably going to shoot me down here and say don't be so stupid, but I think it is a good way of playing, and it keeps it very fun indeed.
No, actually, I wasn't going to shoot you down for that, but you reminded us to play Danielle. I think is worth the play on Champions Day as well. Me and Ash like for the weekend. That's
a good shout.
She is 10s or 12s for the Champions fillies and mares, I think it is, on Champions Day. So that's next month, isn't it? So I just think if she wins, that should be a lot shorter. So that could be to win that and then go on if you can find them. But it did remind us to
It's just a good way. It's just a fun way of playing. If you've got a shorty on the Sunday or something that's 2's on, you may as well double it up. And
we'll do that. We'll do it in the jumps, won't we?
Well, I'll tell you, I remember me and you saying, and we were looking at our dockets. I remember there was one day and we were looking through, and between us, we must have had about 40 of these dockets to win today and to win at the festival. Look, don't get me wrong, I got stung last year by the likes of Galapan was one. Who else was one? John Bomb was one. You get stung from time to time, but look, for this, I'm not a big time player. I don't massively lump, but it just keeps it fun involved. And
tell everyone else to lump it on a Saturday morning.
But it's all fun and games, and as long as you do it responsibly and you have a good time doing it, then bollocks to anyone.
There you go. I loved you stumbling through the Japanese form there. It's very enjoyable. Lovely.
Well, I did actually look at the name of the race earlier, and I thought, no, I'm not even going to bother.
Best not. Irish Champions weekend, just one that's on my radar currently. And Mart in the Irish Champion Stakes, 6-1. I know it's his first run for 87 days, but it doesn't worry me too much considering that he was second to Los Angeles in the it wasn't the Tats Gold Cup, was it? It was the Tats Gold Cup early this season on his seasonal reappearance. I think Owen Burrows has just been desperate to run him, and he's always been a bit on the go this summer, but just the ground hasn't been there for him. He should get his ground this weekend. I know he'll be a lot better at Ascot on Champions Day, so this could be a stepping stone, but I think he'll be good enough, fitness depending, to win this. And 6-1's a great price. So, and Martin in the Irish Champion Stakes on Saturday. Right, gentlemen, then Leger week and Irish Champion weekend. What is the best bets from all three of us for this coming week, Lee?
Well, actually, I think it'll work out. So I'll probably let Harry take Sweet William, and I'll take Danielle in the group 2, which I think then you can clear your way for your other selection. So I'll take Danielle, I think, Thursday in the group 2, the Park Hill Stakes.
Lovely stuff. Harry?
Lee, you may as well carry on and just say mine, mate, while you're at it. I fancy Sweet William. Exactly, that's it. Sweet William, for all the reasons that we mentioned earlier on in the show. He's just the best out of that lot, and he deserves to win it again.
When we agree, the 3 were normally on a Saturday, it works out well. So get on Sweet William. But
the last time we did that, well, I definitely did that. Was me and you did that, Lee? Was regional, and look at that.
Yeah, no, it needs to be all 3. We need it all.
Yeah, we need it.
Well, I agree with both those selections, but then for me, I'd probably go with Moon Target on Thursday in the Group 2 Mayhill Stakes. So there you go. We've got Park Hill Stakes down here. We've got Sweet William in the Goodwood Cup on Friday and Moon Target in the Mayhill.
Talking of Croix du Nord, he's out of a Park Hill Stakes mare.
There you go. Just knowledge. You just got the knowledge, Harry.
No, I know that for a fact. Can't think of the name, but I remember reading it about 2 months ago.
I mean, you may have been sort of like 15 hours after you mentioned Croix du Nord, but you got there eventually, and you've mentioned something half useful. So, I mean, yeah, shall we get a round of applause going? Or
exactly. I know and it's just fate. It's fate. But I'm just kind of delirious after World got smashed and ruined my docket. But anyway.
Well, there's our Leger and Irish Champion Stakes or weekend fancies. Before we finish up, we just want to mention something. It is Suicide Prevention Day as we record this video. Well, the day we upload the video on Wednesday, September 10th. I just wanted to sort of mention it and highlight it because, racing can be, quite a sort of, very, I suppose, full-on sport and, can get on top of people here and there. So we just wanted to mention a bit more about it. Lee, I'll sort of hand it over to you quickly.
Yeah, look, we just thought it's good to highlight. I did put a post out recently, and I got a lot of people, messages about different stuff, and I just want to say that where DMs, where inbox on Twitter is always open, and me and the lads are always there to chat. If anybody does, just want to have a talk and open up a conversation, then we're always there to have that conversation. And all 3, we can access that account. We can all see it. So we'll all try and chip in and reply. But, message us directly. And if anybody ever needs to just get out of the house, go racing, we're always there as well. Look, it's difficult to talk about. I did lose my best friend to suicide. It's like, look, I can get emotional even talking about now. To be honest, I miss him every day. But the one thing he didn't do is just open up and to talk about it. So it is like it sticks in my head every day. And just to say that we're all there to talk, and there's people always there to talk. I put a post on there the day that there's the Samaritans number, and I'll tweet it from my account. Them are great, that there's no judgment there. You can just talk freely about it. But there was a thing, and it kind of amazed us as well, Asha, that 1 in 4 people are thought about suicide in the UK and Ireland. 60% were kind of stopped in them thoughts by having a conversation with family and friends. And 14%, which I think is a huge number when you think about 14% were stopped by strangers just asking if they were okay. I think that's mad, you know, and it's actually a great thing to see that, you know, you could be stopped by a complete stranger to have a conversation, and then your thoughts of bad and negative are derailed by that just by having a conversation. So yeah, look, I just want to say, you know, look, I'm sorry for getting emotional, but at the same time, you know,
Don't be stupid. Don't be.
Yeah.
And this is, you know, you shouldn't be upset about this, because it is such a sensitive subject. And you know, you mentioned the strangers there, Lee. You know, we are effectively we were three strangers who'd never met each other, and we've created this. And I will say, this community that we've got, and we've got loyal people that watch it day in, you know, week in, week out, and for us, it means the absolute world. I can speak on behalf of all three of us. It's such a nice feeling to have when you see the comments. Don't get me wrong, I deserve some of the comments I get, and you know, we all do when we get a little bit of shit. But it's a community, and I think racing is such a big family that we should all kind of chip in. We should all kind of look after each other, because you know, there's a lot of negative things that go on with racing. There's not much good that gets spread out there. So I think actually what we can do is, you know, we can give that kind of that 45 minutes or an hour to somebody like you've mentioned, Lee. If you want someone to talk to, you know, there's three of us there. Our handles are all there on Twitter. You can contact us through any of the pages, and it's not saying that, you know, we are the be all and end all, because we're not. But if we can help in a little way, then that's good enough for me. And you know, if whatever we can do, then we can always do more.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's nice to, you know, spread the awareness for it, and thank you very much, Lee. It's obviously, you know, it's a personal story for you there, so thank you for sharing. And we'll put some useful helplines and numbers and websites in the description as well. So just wants to highlight that awareness there on the end of the video. But thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back with videos going forwards, with, you know, the flat season winding down, the jump season starting back up Saturday 10:30 a.m. for our Saturday live to go through our finalised fancies for Leger Day, and I suppose Irish Champions weekend from Leopardstown and the Curragh.
And hopefully we've talked about a few naps that we've won by the time Saturday comes around. That'd be nice.
Hopefully the Only Fools treble has come in and we look like absolute shrewds. Thank you very much for tuning in. Best of luck, and we'll see you very, very soon.